sis. Welcome back to the Wife Wisdom Podcast, the safe space where strong, soul-led women gather for real talk, deep healing, and love renewed. Hi, I'm your host, Christy Little-Jones, relationship coach, chief cheerleader, and your girl who's always going to tell you the truth in love. In today's episode, we are talking about the love loop. You know, that conversation, that argument, that intense time of fellowship that you have over and over and over again. You know the one, same issue, same topic, same ending, where both parties end up walking away and there's emotional disconnection and you're like, here we go again. So today we're going to talk about why the love loop even happens, but more importantly, we're going to talk about how to stop the cycle. So what is the love loop? The love loop is an emotional pattern. It's a cycle of conflict that feels familiar, predictable, and really exhausting. It's when you and your spouse continue to end up in the same emotional place, regardless of how the argument or conversation even starts. So here is how it usually sounds. You never listen to me. You always shut down. It feels like I have to pull teeth in order to hear anything or to hear how you feel. Why do I always have to bring this up? It's like we're on opposite teams. Now, the words may change, but the emotional script always stays the same. One person feels unheard. The other person feels attacked. One gets louder. One gets quieter. One shuts down. And round and round and round you go. So I want to share a personal story around the love loop. So I will be married 23 years this year in a few months. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And I want to share the fact that we have had this one argument or this one conversation that has permeated our marriage every season, every decade, and it's been really frustrating. And so we had 3 kids in 3 years. And the love loop conversation that me and my husband had was around sex. So when we were dating, okay, it was one thing, but once you got married, a lot of things shift and change. Not only just with us as women, as the wives, but also with them as the men. The way they pursued us in the beginning to get us to I do seems to be very different than the way they pursued us after we said I do. Can I get an amen? And so one of the things that we used to always argue about was about sex. So my husband really wanted me to initiate the sex because he was kind of like, well, I want it all the time. So I felt like there was this pressure for me to initiate. Now, for all my mamas out there, can you imagine if you had 3 babies in 3 years? Would you be initiating sex? I'm just saying. But that is what he wanted. That was his love language. So if you're not familiar with the 5 love languages by Gary Chapman, it is a game changer in the way that you see your relationships, because the 5 love languages are categories and really it helps with clarity and understanding on how you receive love. So the 5 categories are acts of service, quality time, gifts, words of affirmation, and physical touch. And they have a quiz out there. If you go to the 5 love languages quiz.com or something like that, you can take the quiz. It's fascinating because most people love in the way that they love other people in the way that they want to receive love. But that's not always the way that the person that you're trying to love receives love, right? So we discovered that we receive love very differently. And when we took the quiz, my husband's love language, like all of them, was physical touch. Like one, two, three, four, and five was physical touch. And my love language, it shifted based on the season that I was in. So when we were dating, it was quality time. I just wanted to spend all the time that I could with my husband. Then when I had baby number one, number two, number three in 3 years, guess what? My love language was acts of service. Hey, bruh, can you wash some dishes? Can you fold some clothes? Can you sweep that up and pick up the toys? That was my love language. But throughout it all, my husband's was physical touch. And so, if you watch any of the other episodes that I've done or listened to them, you know that I came into marriage with a fairy tale like understanding that marriage was supposed to look a certain way. And not only just fairy tale like, but I think some of the Christian conditioning that I had, I expected marriage to look a certain way. We real talk here, right? We talk real talk. So I expected my husband to do a certain thing, act a certain way, be a certain way, lead a certain way. And so one of those was him initiating intimacy. So my expectation was for him to initiate intimacy, not me to initiate intimacy. Okay. So that's number one. Number two is his desire for physical touch was the lowest on my quiz. It was acts of service, quality time. Well, really it was acts of service, gifts, quality time, words of affirmation, and then physical touch. So we always had a conflict. There was always a rub because my husband wanted physical touch. I'm going around with three. There was a one point where I had 3 kids in diapers. Right. And then, but his expectation for how he received love was through physical touch. And in my estimation, I was trying to be intentional with being available for my husband's hugging, holding hands, touching. Like I made myself available to what I thought was enough for him, but it never seemed to be enough. And so he did not feel loved. And I really have a feeling that there's a hit or miss in many marriages, in many relationships that aren't even marriage or that are not even in marriage, where you don't really understand how you should be loving this other person. And so the love loop around initiating intimacy on my part, like he wanted me to initiate intimacy because he knew that he wanted it all the time. So whenever you want it, initiate it. Okay. So now we already know we were set up from the gate with this type of perspective, because if you wanted it all the time, I'm trying to manage 3 children. I was blessed and totally fortunate to be a stay-at-home mom. So I was trying to focus on them. I wasn't trying to focus on necessarily being intimate to the heightened level that my husband really needed. And this love loop conversation went on and on and on for decades. To like every time we would go to marriage counseling, we would be talking about this. And it was a major point of contention in our marriage. And I'm sure that it's a point of contention for many other marriages because it's back to the emotional script, right? The emotional script that stays the same, where one person doesn't feel heard, another person doesn't feel loved, another person feels attacked and unseen. And then you go back and back and you have the conversation over and over and over again. And you're just like, oh my gosh, why are we here again for another month, another week, another year, over and over and over again? So why does this keep happening? Because most love loops are not about that thing that you are arguing about, or it's not about the issue or the topic that seems to come up over and over and over again in your marriage. What it's about is the emotional need underneath the surface that is not being met. So you have my example of my husband's love language being physical touch, mine being acts of service, my husband not feeling loved because I'm not initiating intimacy in the way that he wanted intimacy, or the frequency that he wanted intimacy in. So his emotional need was not being met. So let me give you a couple other examples. So let's say you're mad because your husband didn't pick up the groceries or bring groceries home. And so now you are feeling unseen, and you're feeling like you're having to do everything and carry the weight of the family yourself. Another one may be where you bring something up again to your husband, and he's annoyed that you're bringing up again and again and again. And so the result is he feels like a failure, and he feels like he can't do anything right. And so the emotional need, or the lack of emotional need, is the underlying insecurity that he has in being a husband. So the real deal is when we do not feel emotionally safe to really identify and express the root of what's really going on, or what's really underneath the surface at the core of what we need, we fight about the fruit. Whatever is coming up, whatever comes out, whatever it is that we're experiencing in the moment, we continue to fight about that. So when you don't feel safe to express the root, all you do is fight about the fruit. That's so good. Let me say that again. When you don't feel safe to express the root, you fight about the fruit. And that is what keeps the loop going over and over and over and over again. So, what needs to happen? What needs to happen is to identify the emotional need underneath the argument. So, emotionally, what do you need? And why? How can your partner, your husband, how can they really meet the need or understand what the need is? Because lots of times when we understand what the need is, that's when the magic happens. It took years for me to really understand that my husband was not feeling loved because I was not initiating a level of intimacy or making him feel like he was a priority. And we've talked about this later on, now that we're empty nesters, that having 3 children in 3 years, which was totally God's plan, he felt a void in feeling like a priority. Makes sense, right? And he felt a void because he wanted me to want him and intimately more than one I wanted or desired, or that I even had the capacity for during that season, which was a span of 16, 17 years till my kids went to college. But he could not, did not, would not communicate that deep emotional need to me, because later when we talked about it, and why wouldn't you tell me, or why wouldn't you say it? One, me personally, I don't think he could. I don't think he could identify what that emotional need was. But then the other thing that he said was, Chris, what does that sound like for me to say, yeah, put my kids, like, forget about them, take care of me, forget about them. He's like, no, we have amazing children because of your sacrifice, but I had to sacrifice too. And so I wish that if I could do it over again, I wish that he could have communicated it differently, more clearly to me versus it having to come out in a lot of the arguments and the difficult conversations and the seasons of disconnection emotionally and physically. And I wish that we didn't have to take all the bumps and the bruises and the lumps to get to an understanding of clarity around, oh, okay, what does your emotional need look like? What does that mean practically? Because if I could have understood what that meant practically, then I feel like I could have tried to support or meet that need a little bit more in alignment to what his definition was. The thing is he would say, well, I did try to tell you, I did try to tell you. That's why communication, intimacy, sex and intimacy, and finances are some of the core reasons why marriages don't work. Because when you don't communicate well, if you have one good communicator and one that's not so good, it's frustrating for both parties. But one of the things is that you've got to stay in the game, right? You've got to stay in conversation, regardless of how difficult it is, regardless of how hard it is, regardless of how uncomfortable it is, because it is uncomfortable, whether you are not afraid of confrontation or difficult conversations or not. It's still a difficult conversation. So love as a habit, honestly, is about self-awareness. And can I just say that a lot of people do not have self-awareness. I'm just saying, one of my pet peeves is when you are in the grocery store and you are in the aisle and there's a person who's right in the middle, leaves their basket to go look up and down the aisle so you can't even get around. Total no, like that's no self-awareness. Hello? No self-awareness. When people double park and then they get out of their car to go do something, but nobody can get around them until they move their car. Like, no self-awareness. I was shocked to learn that only really 15% of people are really self-aware. That should give you a perspective. Like, that gave me a clue, like, see, I have to offer way more grace to people because they're really all in their own bubble, in their own space, and they don't see, hear, recognize, or are aware of anything around them. It's just actually kind of scary now that I think about it. So here's the shift. To break the loop, you don't need to fix him, which is often where we think we're supposed to start. But you start breaking the loop, breaking the pattern by getting more curious about you. So you want to ask yourself a couple of these questions. What am I really feeling? And again, when we talk about self-awareness, it's also a way for you to become more aware of what you're feeling, aware of the emotions that you're experiencing, and asking yourself, what am I really feeling right now? Are you sleepy? Like, we know when we're sleepy, everything is blown out of proportion, right? Are you irritated? Is there fear, worry, doubt? Like, what is really going on? So asking yourself, what am I really feeling? Number 2, why, or really what in this situation, what in this conversation is really triggering me? This is going to be really important to discover, because if you can identify it, now you're able to communicate it clearer or more clearly to your husband. The third one is, am I responding from today, or am I responding from an old wound? And so let me just say, I'm fascinated by neuroscience and neuroplasticity and the fact that we can change the cells in our brains and our subconscious mind. Fascinating, right? So one of the things that I do know that I see over and over and over again, including in myself, is, these statistics are backed by research, that I think it's 89% of people are addicted to the negative emotions of their past. I'm going to say that again. Not everybody, but a lot of people are addicted to the negative emotions of their past. And when they're addicted to the negative emotion of their past, they rehearse the past negative emotion over and over and over again. That actually triggers that same emotional response. Okay, you get it? You with me? So many people are addicted to the negative emotion of their past, and they rehearse the emotion from that incident that happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 30 years ago, decades ago, and they rehearse it. So they stay stuck in this emotion. They stay stuck in the past, and it's really difficult for them to move forward and get out of this loop of that causes these triggers. And what's interesting is they may try to get out of the loop or out of this negative emotion, this negative experience from their past. But then when they start feeling good, or they start really regulating their emotions, it is so uncomfortable that they go back to wanting to feel like they did when they were stuck in the negative emotion of their past. Is that deep or what? Yes. And many of us are either experiencing that ourselves because we're stuck in the negative emotion of our past, or we are attached and married to people who are either ignorant to this concept, and they are just talking about the same things over and over and over again. You're like, oh my gosh, I thought we had gone through this. I thought you forgave me. I thought we had healed from this. Oh my God. Right? So it's over and over again because they're addicted to this negative emotion because it fuels some type of emotion in them: anger, sadness, failure, people pleasing, not good enough. And so they just stay in it, and they ruminate in it, and they just get in the groove, and the grooves are like grooved into their subconscious mind that they aren't good enough, they're not pretty enough, they aren't, all these things. I'm a failure because somebody told them when they were 10 years old that they were a failure. Their teacher told them that they would never be good enough, they would never amount to anything, they could never go to college, and you believed them. So now when something comes up where you're like, oh yeah, I'm just not going to do it because I'm not smart enough, because I'm not good enough. It's because now you are rehearsing this negative incident that happened to you when you were 10 years old, but now you're 40. And now you've believed that I'm not good enough, or I can't do it. Yes. I'm going to let you sit with that for a minute because it's a real thing. And you don't have to stay stuck. You do not have to stay in this negative emotion. You don't have to stay in this tsunami of doubt, fear, people pleasing, negativity, low self-esteem, insecurity. You do not have to stay there. You can break out of the loop. This is what I call the love habit of self-awareness. And it is a game changer. Because when you can name what's happening on the inside of you, what's going on, what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, how you're feeling it, maybe where is it coming from, what are the triggers, you take your power back and you stop reacting and you start responding with love, with clarity, and compassion. So once you're able to identify the negative emotion or the trigger or the love loop pattern, now it's the opportunity to start a new pattern or build a new habit. So I want you to imagine the next time you're entering into this loop, this love loop, instead of raising your voice or shutting down, you take a deep breath and say, I know we've had this conversation before, but I think I'm really feeling, insert the emotion or insert the feeling. And can we try a different way of reacting and responding this time? Now that is growth, courage, and that is you being the pattern breaker in your marriage. If this episode or anything that I just shared is speaking to your soul and you are nodding your head, yes, girl, this is exactly what I'm going through, I want to invite you to take the next step. I've created a beautiful experience called 30 Days to Building Better Love Habits. Now, this isn't just for wives. This is for women who desire to have better relationships with themselves, with their spouse, their children, their siblings, their coworkers. You just want to prioritize a better relationship with you and the people who love you. So each day, I guide you through a powerful love habit that helps you to reconnect with yourself and the people that you love. No pressure, no perfection, just daily practices that help you to build a life that loves you back. To join me on the journey to 30 days to building better love habits, go to the link in the show notes to find out more. Sis, you do not have to stay stuck in the cycle that is stealing your joy. You can break the loop and you can start again. And I would be so honored to walk with you as you do. So if this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend who's in the loop too, and let's heal together. I love you and I'm always cheering for you. And I look forward to seeing you next week for more wife wisdom. Take care. Thanks so much for watching. If the video you just saw blessed you, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you're ready to go a little deeper, whether in your faith, your relationships, or personal growth, visit ChristyLovesYou.com/go deeper. I have something really special waiting for you there. Until next time, know that you are loved, you are seen, and I am cheering for you always.